Transportation and Infrastructure, and I'm here to introduce a really exciting project. I was so excited about this project, I made the team submit for the CASWIM Award, so I'm very hopeful and excited that you will love it as much as I did. This exciting collaboration, the Globeville Stormwater System Study, was a partnership between the City and County of Denver and our consulting partners, Merrick and OV.
Hi, my name is Beth Vogelsang and I'm with OV Consulting, and I want to introduce you to the Globeville Stormwater Basin.
The Globeville Stormwater Basin sits at the north end of the City and County of Denver and drains to the South Platte River, which runs through Denver and north into Adams County. The basin encompasses the neighborhoods of Chaffee Park and Sunnyside to the west and Globeville directly along the river. It is bisected north-south by the I-25 highway and the railroads, and east-west by I-70, which creates multiple barriers and influences on the flow of stormwater over the basin.
I'm Dave Jula. I'm a water resources engineer with the Department of Transportation and Infrastructure at the City and County of Denver. The existing stormwater system is not sized adequately to handle a large flood event, and during the 100-year flood, water would overcome the capacity of the existing stormwater system, flow through the neighborhood from multiple directions, and culminate in the park here in Argo Park with depths of 4 to 6 feet deep. The Globeville Basin is at risk of flooding from two sources: urban runoff and the South Platte River. Highways, railroads, and urbanization have disrupted the natural flow of stormwater in the basin. In addition, the existing system generally has capacity to handle only a 2-year event. During a major flood, flooding in excess of 6 foot deep is possible throughout the neighborhood. Globeville is also protected by a levee along the South Platte River. However, updated hydrologic and hydraulic analyses have revealed that the levee does not have adequate freeboard to meet FEMA criteria and also needs to be extended upstream. In addition to the flooding problems that we've been talking about, we also have a ton of development going on surrounding this community. We have River North neighborhood across the river has seen millions and millions of dollars of investment over the last decade, and severe gentrification has happened in that neighborhood. We have Heron Pond open space and Carpio Sanguinetti Park that's being completely redone in the neighborhood. The main street through Globeville, Washington Street, is being redesigned, and behind me you see National Western, which is a $1 billion renovation of the National Western Center.
Hi, my name is Angela Garcia. I am a Global resident for most of my life and a homeowner for 29 years. I have seen my community flood over many points of my life, and this is one of those things you accept, you don't really understand. I rode the bus to and from work, and often in the summer when we would have those huge rainstorms, 45th Street would get flooded. And I assumed, along with many other people, that the reason it was flooded was because the sewers were full of trash, etc.
There were many ideas from community members about where neighborhood flooding originated. In addition to concerns about the sewer, there were ideas that the National Western Center development was causing the river to rise, that water was jumping from the east side of the river to flood Globeville. There were misunderstandings and a great deal of emotion. In entering into the study, it was clear we needed a new approach to working with the community. We moved away from an infrastructure-only analysis approach and added a layer of community planning to our thinking. Through our numerous conversations, we uncovered preferences about parks, open space, tree canopy, and land use, and we introduced new perspectives to manage stormwater runoff through green and gray infrastructure. We discussed creating solutions that would produce multiple community benefits. So how did we go about implementing this new approach? Well, first we developed a stakeholder group called the Vision Implementation Team, or the VIT. This large dedicated group of residents, property owners, businesses, and agencies embarked on a year-long education project. We met numerous times and we literally studied the characteristics of the basin, the flow of water across the basin, and the possibilities for unique future solutions. We began our education program with understanding topography, the high points in the basin, and the low-lying land along the river. We stepped back in history to examine the winding nature of the South Platte through what is now the Globeville neighborhood. We discussed the advent of the railroads in the 1880s and the role of Argo Junction in that railroad activity. We talked about the silver boom era and the arrival of the smelting industry and the growth in housing that accompanied that industry growth, all within the low-lying areas adjacent to the river and all within what we today call the Globeville neighborhood. We explored the plans for the I-25 and I-70 interchange that was plopped down in the 40s and 50s in the center of this community. And we built an understanding of the consolidation of the rail lines through this area and the subsequent growth in large-scale industry that followed the highway expansion. We combined this history and topography understanding to understand the effect that it has had on our impervious surfaces, our runoff patterns, and our stormwater inundation areas within the basin. We also explored the characteristics of the South Platte River over the years, the 1965 flood and subsequent reservoir development that took place to manage Denver flooding. We discussed the impacts of the potential river spill location that remains within the community today, near Ringsby Court. We worked specifically with the VIT and the broader community to develop an understanding of the difference between stormwater runoff impacts and riverine flooding.
Hi, my name is Fernando Bull. I'm with OV Consulting, and I'm an urban planner. As part of this new approach to this study, we employed a lot of different strategies for education and outreach. One of them was we held a community meeting here at Argo Park where community members, city staffs, and even city officials got together. The community was able to learn and educate themselves about the issues facing their community of stormwater flooding and river flooding. But a big part too was that city staff, the project team, the engineers, and even city officials were able to get a better understanding of the community, the historical issues that this community has been facing. Some additional strategies that we used were we held conversations in Spanish and English as needed. We had a rain barrel demonstration project, and we handed out and created a community education guide.
One of the most innovative aspects of our education and planning program included the idea that we see the basin as though we were a drop of water. Starting at the 51st and Zuni Park at the highest point in the basin, we traveled by bus, following the path of the water, as though we were that water crossing the basin. We passed over vast industrial uses, the rail yard, and stopping to explore locations where stormwater is directed along railroad infrastructure, and to places where detention could be possible. We traveled down the hill toward Argo Park and eventually to the river, understanding the role of the outfalls to the river and the levee along the river.
The other thing that I learned with this study is that I was explaining to a neighbor who lived here way longer than I did why these things happen. He was upset, and so I said, let's get in your car and let's go. And I'll show you what I learned. And it made sense for him to learn that as well. And that was just one more step to knowledge within the community to be able to work on that.
The days of showing up as an engineer in a community with all the answers and all the solutions, and everyone saying, oh, thanks for coming in, engineer, that's great, go ahead and fix it, are long gone. I think all of us can appreciate that at this point. So we took a much more collaborative approach with the community members. We took into account everything from little mini dams in people's yards to increase infiltration and reduce runoff, to a huge diversion tunnel to take the 100-year flow underneath the neighborhood.
In considering this wide range of solutions, we also talked feasibility and cost implications. And together we worked to identify solutions that were effective and yet created multiple community benefits. Ultimately, we landed at green infrastructure improvements in the higher portions of the basin, options for detention mid-basin, and a hybrid 48th Avenue Greenway that carried stormwater flow through pipe infrastructure and open channel, and a greenway that allowed for multimodal improvements to reconnect this historically divided neighborhood. These solutions were arrived at easily because residents, stakeholders, elected officials, and city staff were all part of a comprehensive education, outreach, and planning approach to stormwater management in the Globeville Basin.
I think a lot of us in our careers have been part of a planning study or design that didn't come to fruition. It just got stuck on a shelf, never to be made. And I'm sure maybe even you have made that joke. Well, the best design is one that's never built. But luckily, that's not where this story ends. By building community understanding and support, as well as educating our colleagues across teams and agencies internally, we were able to collectively find and champion neighborhood solutions. The broad internal and external support made the next steps of identifying project funding as part of the City and County of Denver's 6-year water plan a well-founded next step. Since the completion of the study, we have been able to progress multiple projects in Globeville, which have been well received by the community. Another testament to the success of the outreach. Phase 1 of construction on the Globeville levee will begin this fall, with subsequent phases already under design. This will protect the community from riverine flooding from the South Platte River and prevent more than 700 properties from being remapped into the floodplain. The 48th Avenue Storm Interceptor project is another transformational project currently under design. The project will not only relieve drainage problems in the neighborhood, but builds upon the community's vision for a unique, strong, connected, and healthy Globeville. This project is also an opportunity to create connections to the South Platte River, the National Western Center, and the recently improved Platte Farm open space by adding pedestrian mobility to what have been previously considered a one-dimensional, pipe-only project. These projects represent more than $50 million of investment. It is an exciting shift for a community that has long suffered a history of inequity and environmental injustices. It represents neighborhood empowerment, and I think that everyone involved in the study, especially the city staff, was changed by the process. I am so excited to replicate this process with our other communities in the city and County of Denver. Goldsmith Gulch, I'm looking at you. And I can't wait to see how other communities implement this as well. I'm excited that this could be an approach that we use statewide and become a great project for everyone.